Hey everybody, welcome to the GameTaffy, and this is going to be the last GameTaffy for 2013. I am going to have the baby very soon, and I just don't want to deal with trying to record these videos while trying to be a parent. But that whole situation got me thinking about how I'm going to be raising the next generation of gamer. I kind of wanted to share with you my philosophy in raising a child who's going to start playing video games. Now, I should say I have never had a kid before, so all of this is new to me. I don't know what's going on, but I should also say that most of my decisions about parenting are based on the mistakes, at least in my view, the mistakes that my parents made on me. And the primary mistake that my parents made was that they were very protective. Growing up in a Christian household, my parents wanted to block me from all harmful and negative things in the world. Frankly, that caused me to rebel a little bit more. And just as a note to you parents out there, if you try to shield your child from things, the child's going to try to see what those things are, and that was the situation with me. Look, I moved slightly because my cat decided to push the carpet out of the way, so now I'm in a slightly different position. I just feel as though the more you try to block a child from something, the more that child is going to reach for it. As far as gaming goes, I've got mostly mature games. I don't see how it's effective for me as a parent to try to lock those away, inconvenience myself, and then teach the child that these are things, the forbidden fruit, the things that they really want to play with, and I'm blocking them from. My number one parenting philosophy is to avoid trying to protect my child from the world. It doesn't do them any good for me to get in the way of real life experiences. Now, second, there are studies that show that children under the age of 2 have slower cognitive development if they've been exposed to TV and video. However, there's no causation. No one's been able to prove that if you expose a child to television, that's the determining factor. However, I would rather play it safe than sorry. So for me, I'm not going to have my child under 2 playing games or watching television or watching movies. I'm going to try to have real-world interactions with my child for the first 2 years. While I was doing research on this subject, I saw that there's also zero correlation that showing educational programs to a child under 2 helps them at all. It's just pretty shapes and sounds and colors, and a child will pay attention to it, and parents think that that's helping them, but there are zero studies to back up the claims of baby Einstein and that kind of stuff. So my second rule on parenting is under 2, no TV. Finally, my third and last rule when it comes to parenting is that I want to be around when my child is playing video games. I come from a generation of gamers that still had arcades. And arcades were a very social experience for me. I would go with my friends, we would have our stack of quarters, we'd ride our bikes to the arcade, we'd play games for a couple of hours, sometimes we'd play together, sometimes one person would play and we'd watch, and then the next person would play and we'd watch. Also, when we had home consoles like the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo, we would hang out as friends and show each other the games that we got. I had a Super Nintendo, but one of my neighbors had a Sega Genesis. And I had really cool Nintendo games that he couldn't play, but he had games like Mortal Kombat. So we would go to each other's house all the time. I didn't even like the kid that much, but video games were a social experience, and the only way to see the other side of the gaming spectrum was to hang out with these kids. Today, we don't really have arcades. In Ogden, Utah, where I live, we have the Nickelcade, which is a really cool arcade, and I like to go there a couple of times a year. The idea of arcades is more of a, hey, isn't that cool? A place where you go to play video games. They don't have the same impact that they had when I was a child. It's not a problem that gaming technology has moved into the household, but I do want to make sure that my son knows that games are social, and that video games will always be something that he can experience with his friends and build relationships with. So my final rule is that games are social, and I will have to be around every time he's playing his games. So since this is the internet and people love to offer free advice on parenting, go ahead and tell me what your rules are when it comes to raising children around video games. Again, I'm not going to be back until 2014. Feel free to subscribe. I've got past videos that I'd love for you to watch and comment on. Also, feel free to share this with your friends. If you want to get a hold of me and ask me how the baby's doing, hit me up on Twitter @GameTaffyBin or on Facebook.com patreon.com/GameTaffy. Hey, I'm Ben Davis. Have a happy holidays and a fantastic new year.